I didn't discover DJing in Berlin or in a big club. It was actually in Cali, Colombia, at the strangest underground parties you can imagine. After high school, I went to Cali, Colombia, to do volunteer work in a school. What I didn't expect was that I'd discover an entirely new world of music for me. There was this underground series called Conversion, parties in the weirdest locations, like an old office opposite the church, or it was also a 3-story building with a pool in the middle. One night I saw a DJ play techno in a small bar and I was mesmerized. I'd played guitar for 10 years in school, even in the orchestra, but was always under pressure. I actually wanted to play the piano, but I wasn't allowed to. By the end of high school, I thought, okay, I'm just not musical. So suddenly, in this moment, seeing someone mix live, it hit me. This was music in a way I had never experienced before, and I knew instantly I want to do this. Through my neighbor in Cali, I met the local talent in DJ Canada, who became my first teacher. He had a small controller with a tractor setup and sometimes some CDJ 850s from Pioneer. And from day one, he didn't let me use autosync at all. I had to beat match by ear. On those old CDJs with barely any visual feedback, it was brutal, but it trained my ears and it came on handy later on. Later, I had a boyfriend who was a producer and a DJ, of course, and he pushed me deeper into CDJs. And soon I was practicing vinyl too. And because I'd already trained without visual help, vinyl felt natural just after a couple of months. My very first gig was actually a garden party I organized with my best friend back then. We decorated everything like in a mini festival, and when it was my turn to play for the first time ever in front of people, I honestly thought I was going to collapse. Like, it was so bad. The first 30 minutes seriously felt like torture and I was about to pluck everything out. Like, I hated every second and I was convinced I was terrible. But luckily my best friend came up mid-set and said, "This is awesome." She gave me that push that I needed to keep playing, and by the end I actually had fun. So I'm so grateful she showed up there in the moment when she did. Otherwise, who knows if I would be doing this still. So my first club gig was only my 3rd set ever in public. So I didn't really know CDJs yet at that point, so I brought my little cheap Pioneer controller to the club in Berlin. And when I walked out of the club, it was so funny. The bouncer asked me if I'd won it in a raffle in the club. And I was like, no, I just played with it. And he was speechless. And the crowd, they fucking loved it. I even got more bookings right away. So it was so amazing. But of course, it wasn't all smooth. Especially in the beginning, I was super self-critical. Even when the dance floor was full, I thought I was failing. It took me years to relax and realize I've never emptied a fucking dance floor. And then there was the financial side. Equipment is crazy expensive. I could never afford the latest CDJs that clubs had, so I always had old gear at home. Ironically, that prepared me even better. But the real issue, gigs often didn't pay or paid very little. That frustration is one big reason I didn't stay with DJing as my only career. And at the same time, I kept challenging myself technically all the time. From controllers to CDJs to vinyl to 3-deck mixing, I always wanted to refine my sound and improve my skills. Pretty early on, I also started producing with old machines, though I struggled with focus. So later I invested in better gear, and at some point I got the Octatrack, analog rhythm and synths. And eventually I realized DJing felt quite easy and I craved something deeper. So that's when I jumped into Modular. I even quit my full-time job and took an Intro to Modular course in Berlin. So Modular was overwhelming at first, but it became the foundation of my live performances and my life as a full-time creative now. Looking back, what made my DJ sets stand out was diversity, I think. I started with techno, but during COVID I dove into other genres like footwork, jungle, breaks, electro, ambient, experimental, whatever. Everything electronic though. And yeah, my sets were never just plain techno. I loved mixing genres to tell a story, to keep the crowd hooked, and for me, that's where the magic happens. Even with a shitty sound system. Once I was able to fill the floor with just music selection and storytelling. And that's what DJing gave me, the ability to create energy and connection in real time. I'd love to hear your story. How did you get into music or DJing? Drop it in the comments, I'll be reading.